I love Prince because he put out great music, and he was a great performer.
This is Prince, one of the biggest artists of the 1990s. But at the height of his success, he wasn't celebrating the music industry. He was protesting it. More specifically, he was fighting Warner Bros. Records, the label that signed him when he was just 18 years old. In this video, we're breaking down Prince's battle with the music industry, what led him to believe that his contract left him with no real freedom, why he publicly compared his situation to modern-day slavery, and how his fight ultimately changed the way artists talk about ownership and control in music. It's like letting Kanye choose what he plays with, but never letting him own it. Now that's basically what labels do to artists. And now let me explain to you how Prince got himself into one of these predatory deals. Born Prince Rogers Nelson on June 7th, 1958 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Prince got his start in the industry at just 18 years old in 1977, when Prince signed a recording contract to Warner Bros. Records. The deal was unusual for a new artist.
But my first belief was, okay, we've got to do something here, and we got to get our rear ends out to the West Coast. We got to make a record deal for him as soon as possible, and it has to be first class. So we got on the plane and we went out there and we had our top #1 attorney in the town. So we were first class all the way. Nothing was going to stop us, and we made presentations to all these labels, and we did present to ABC, RSO, Warner Brothers, CBS Records, and A&M Records. I do still have the letter of rejection from Al Corey at RSO Records that passed on him, saying that they didn't feel that he was a talent. I do have a letter. I can't find the letter from ABC, but A&M, CBS, and Warner Brothers all offered us deals almost on the spot. Not quite, but it was almost on the spot.
Warner Bros. Agreed to give Prince creative control over 3 albums, retaining his publishing rights, while the label controlled his masters. Prince could write the music, perform it, and even decide how it sounded, but ownership was a totally different story. Shortly after signing this contract, Prince and his manager Owen Hunzy relocated to California, where Prince recorded his debut album, For You, at Record Plant Studios. The album was released on April 7th, 1978. According to the album's liner notes, Prince wrote, produced, arranged, and performed nearly every part of the record himself, playing an astounding 27 instruments. Despite going over budget and costing more than his initial advance, the album introduced him as a fully self-contained artist. For You produced modest chart success, but more importantly, it established Prince's reputation for total creative control, a reputation that would later put him on a collision course with the very label that signed him. And by the mid-1980s, Prince was no longer just a promising artist. He was a global superstar. In 1984, he released Purple Rain, a project that included both a studio album and a feature film.
Come on, baby! He risked too much for the one thing that meant everything.
Purple Rain spent 24 consecutive weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 200, sold over 13 million copies in the United States, and earned Prince an Academy Award for the Best Original Song Score. The album produced multiple hit singles and became one of the most commercially successful releases of the decade. After Purple Rain, Prince had proven he could deliver massive success on his own terms, creatively, commercially, and culturally. But that same success would soon collide with the limits of his contract. And for a while, things seemed to be going well. But as Prince became increasingly prolific, he wanted the freedom to release his music whenever he wanted, while Warner Brothers, on the other hand, pushed for a slower, more controlled release schedule, arguing that spacing out albums was necessary to protect their value in the marketplace.
The problem they were having with Prince was that he was producing too many records too quickly. Faster than their promotion and marketing machine could really digest, faster than the marketplace and the media could digest. We were in an era where most artists would release records anywhere from between 2 and 3 years apart, and he arguably could have had 2 records a year if he had wanted to. And he did want to, because he was of the mind that a record was like a newspaper. When it was finished, it was of that time. And I finished this song last night in the studio. I want people to hear it today. It's relevant to today. I produced it today. It's about how I feel today. People should hear it today. And of course, the legitimate argument was that radio wasn't prepared to accept that much product from any single artist either. And as a result, it made it difficult for the label to promote it. So there really was a legitimate argument to space things out. It just didn't fit him as an artist.
That's like Kenny wanting to go pick out a new toy, but me saying, no, you need to savor this one longer so it doesn't diminish its value. There you go, Kenny. You're gonna be a superstar, Kenny.
Ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise. And they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change, because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation we're in right today. They're not going to exist much longer.
That disagreement reached a breaking point in 1993, when Prince publicly disavowed his own name and began identifying himself with an unpronounceable symbol, a move that led the media to label him as the artist formerly known as Prince.
But about the highest risk one would think someone who gets famous would take is to drop the name that got them famous.
Well, that was one of the things that I dealt with, is that I really searched deep within to find out the answer to whether fame was most important to me or my spiritual well-being, and I chose the latter.
We'll be right back with the artist formerly known as Prince.
Starting the following year, Prince began appearing in public with a single word written across his face: slave. It was a visual protest aimed directly at the record industry and the contracts he believed stripped artists of control. And he also chose to tour away from America until his recording contract was over. In 1995, Prince appeared at the Brit Awards, where he accepted his award with the words still written on his face. And he continued these protests during live performances, including appearances in London, where he took stage with the word visible throughout the show. That following year, in 1996, Prince appeared on The Today Show once again with slave written on his face, reinforcing that the message was intentional and ongoing. Years later, Prince reflected on this period during an interview with Larry King, explaining that the protest permanently altered his relationship with the record company. According to Prince, label executives rarely confronted him directly. Instead, he suggested that they looked at him sideways, signaling how uncomfortable the situation had become.
Once I started writing slave on my face, I pretty much knew the outcome. I mean, you have to understand that that word on one's face pretty much changes the dynamic of any meeting that you're in when they see it.
And how did people react to you when they did see it?
Well, the record company didn't really say too much. They just kind of... All right, what's the business at hand today? And that was it.
And even during his limited public appearances in this period, Prince didn't hold back. At one point, he spoke in front of a crowd of artists and industry executives. He was blunt about how harmful traditional recording contracts can be for musicians. Here you can hear him address the issue directly at one such event, explaining why the system was stacked against the people creating the music.
Well, it's not your game. You didn't make the rules, so everything comes hard. And as long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. A select few of us will do well, the majority will not. So as a people, we'll be considered a minority. But stop. Let's take a moment and look at yourselves. There's nothing minor about you. You are a blessed people. You're the most talented on earth, and you are still grateful. That is why upon winning in their game, you always thank God. Tonight I would like to ask one favor of you. Imagine what we'll all be like in our own game. Peace and love for one another.
During his battle with the label, Prince never stopped creating. He continued recording music and performing new material live, even as the dispute with Warner Bros. Escalated. At the same time, Prince made it clear that much of his music would not be released until he was free from his contract. Rather than slowing down creatively, he chose to hold material back until his contract was up. Prince addressed this period during an interview on The Sunday Show in 1995. Although the appearance was unusual, Prince did not speak at all, instead allowing others to answer questions on his behalf, reinforcing how deliberately he had withdrawn from traditional industry expectations.
There's a live experience, and you can't buy the album. I'm not even sure if you can hear it on the radio. So how do you, unless you can follow the tour, how can you get more of the music?
In 1999, we'll be free and we can sell the music directly to the consumer. And we can give it away if we want.
And so you expect your fans to stick with you and be faithful for the next 4 years of not being able to buy music.
The ones that care about us will.
As Prince publicly protested, much of the media focused on how his actions looked, not what he was actually saying. Industry coverage often framed him as difficult, confusing, or self-destructive, while label execs largely avoided engaging with his ownership concerns at all. The system didn't change, it simply kept moving. And here you can hear Prince speak on his reputation that he is difficult.
A lot of people were telling me today, I was just telling the artist that, boy, you're going to have the artist on for now, it's going to be very hard because he's very hard to talk to. Now, you're not hard to talk to. Where did this reputation begin that you are difficult, do you think? And you're not hearing it here for the first time.
Yeah, probably where all reputations begin. I think the media plays a big part in one's perception of me. Until one sits down and actually talks to me, they can't really know me.
Well, should you have been more public? Should you have done more of things like this?
No, I kind of did what I wanted to do. I wanted my music, as even now, to speak loudest for me.
By 1996, Prince had finally fulfilled his recording contract with Warner Brothers. He was 36 years old and was finally free from the label that signed him when he was only 18 years old. He also regained his ability to use the moniker Prince in his music, but the fight for Prince was still not over. After Prince regained control of his music and could sell it directly to his fans, the big question was this: could he top the success of his earlier career? By then, he was in his late 30s, and commercially, the answer was no. Prince never sold music at the same blockbuster level he did in the 1980s during the Purple Rain era, and that period still remains his most dominant in terms of record sales and mainstream impact. Many fans and critics argue that his post-1996 work was just as strong, and in some cases even better, because he was making music without compromise. Here, Prince talks about this himself, suggesting that if certain people were paid differently, alluding to his label conflict, he believed he could create the same commercial success he once had.
Right today, I feel like I could put together something equally as interesting, and it would be as successful if the right people are getting paid. You know, that may sound strange, but this is a business, and when people are involved in it, you have successes, you know, and I understand that, and I knew there would be times where records wouldn't sell as much when I got away from those particular people, but I was cool with that because success pretty much is what you make it to be.
And now that Prince was free from the label, he was more vocal than ever, often speaking about his hate for standard recording contracts and the labels who control the music industry. Here you can hear him sing about Warner Brothers in front of a huge crowd.
Happy because we just got paid, free from all contract, chilling in the shade of the sun's light. We got it right, you strip it your own and make a meal overnight for the tax com. Quick buy some land, don't build nothing, just clap your hands. Don't build nothing, just clap your hands. Here we come, y'all.
And as the internet began to change how things were distributed, Prince became even more outspoken about the role of record labels. He argued that in the digital age, artists didn't need traditional label structures to get their music to fans. During one appearance, Prince explained this view using a very simple analogy, saying that record labels have become like a delivery service. and pointing out that just because a delivery company ships a package, it doesn't mean that they own it.
The kids today, I mean, they're so talented and sophisticated. I mean, they can create their albums on laptops. They can do the artwork themselves. They can deliver it through the internet. They can be their own distribution service. I mean, what do we really need record companies for? I mean, really. That said, if we can work together, then it's going to be, everybody will kind of move into a situation where they do what it is that they're qualified to do. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they ship.
Fast forward 25 years and not much has changed. Artists like Taylor Swift recently re-recorded their entire catalog in an effort to regain ownership of her music, something Prince did years before her. Then we have artists like Kanye West, still publicly fighting the same contracts Prince warned about, posting his contract online and calling the system broken. So that leaves us with one question: will predatory music contracts ever end? And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button and that like button so I could buy Kenny some more treats. Also, check out this video on the screen, you'll probably enjoy it. But in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Peace.